Welcome to another story time. This is another story from my college. So I guess this makes this a Tales from a Liberal Arts College. So everybody at my school was like abnormally bad at things, like video games and stuff. In general, like their skill level was just lower, and I always wondered like why it was. Like I kind of just assumed because I had kind of competitive friends that maybe I got better at stuff because I was trying to beat someone and they were trying to beat me, and it just happened that way. But like everybody at my school was kind of just worse at stuff. To the point where I was like, am I going to get hit by a car because I'll just like have delusions of grandeur about myself like after playing games against them? This story's about magic. Okay, so this is a story about a multiplayer game I was in. It was a 2v2, and my teammate was a girl who was not very good. And it was difficult because I couldn't really help them to get better, because no matter what advice I gave them, no matter how I framed it, they would get offended, right? No matter any concept I tried to explain. And I used to blame myself and try to think like, oh, I should work on how my rhetoricism, I should like be figuring out ways that I could frame something so that I'm not upsetting people. But in retrospect, I think they were just an unbearable bitch. I think sometimes if you act a little bit confident with certain people, they'll have a adverse reaction, whereas if you act shy around certain people, they'll have an adverse reaction. And I'm kind of a little bit of both, so I've kind of seen both. But anyway, so she saw my deck, right? And I have a very my favorite deck, the one that I play the most, is what I call my big green deck, and it's in here, but it's actually all that's in here. And in fact, this is one deck, and then these are other cards that I took out to kind of slim it up a little bit. Now, I did split this deck, so this is actually, while it is part of the same deck, these are like Hydras or X cost stuff. So the most excessive things are in this part of the deck, whereas the regular creatures you would play that you kind of don't have to think about when to play are in this part. So it's kind of two philosophies, because you can kind of just, oh, you see an exciting creature, just play it. Whereas here, you kind of think, oh, maybe I should wait on this X cost for a better opportunity. And I realized I was just never using them, so I separated the decks because I realized there were two strategies in the deck, so it makes sense to just divide them, especially when you're dealing with like 300 cards or something. It also looks bigger than it probably is. I think this is just like 240 cards. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know where the list is, but this is a very well managed deck. I have a certain number of lands per ratio, and I have a certain number of mana ramp per ratio, so that everything flows very smoothly for a deck of this size, right? And I won very often with this deck. And so the girl I was playing with had the idea in her head that because I had more cards, I was winning. And that is not how it works, right? If you have the smaller deck you can have with the best cards is going to be the best strategy. It's a little bit different with green because there's many things you could use for mana ramp, and then there's many cards that could be win conditions, many creatures you could put out that are win conditions. I've been challenged in the past to make a 60 card deck, and I did it in like 10 minutes out of this, and I beat the person so bad that they begged me to shuffle it all back in and just play with the full thing. And yeah, so it's like, it's not like I can't say, I do have trouble cutting down to 60, but it's not this bad. This isn't because I can't cut down to 60. My friends would make fun of me because I'd have like 64 or 62, and it's like, oh, I don't know which things I want to. So, but this is the most extreme case of a big deck of mine, but this is not, you know. Anyway, they were playing a white deck, and I asked them if they balanced their lands for the new cards that they were adding in to make their deck bigger so that they could do better. And they got mad and they didn't know what it meant. And anyway, so we're playing a game with a deck that's like 100 cards, and like 18 lands, right? 18 planes in this white deck. And so she's mana screwed to high heaven. Like there's no, nothing coming out of that side. And I'm playing with this like pre-release deck, like a pre-release, what is it called? A structure deck or something, where they give you 6 packs for $20 and you make a deck. And so I made a Selesnya deck because I like white and green, and so it's like not a super masterfully put together deck. It's like that deck plus some other cards I got from the set. It was like the return to Ravnica set. Anyway, we're losing super bad, and I'm like, oh, I can stall for a few turns because I have this or that. So maybe we'll draw something, but we're screwed, right? And then the other two guys are like, like, they have a plan. And then they, instead of attacking, right, like before their attack, the first main phase, not main phase two, they decide to Phyrexian Rebirth. So board wipe everything. The board that they're winning, right? They have more stuff and stronger stuff, and we don't have anything on our side. It's just we're just fucked. So they board wipe. They make their Phyrexian, and I guess the idea is there was a lot of stuff on the board, and so they put in a token that is equal to the number of creatures on play, and that feels good or something. And I was like, the first turn 2 of Magic I ever played, my friend played a Doomblade and killed my Llanowar elf, right? So I knew that removal was a problem, right? I knew every color except for green has really good removal, and they're gonna remove all your stuff. So I when I play a creature, I'm like, yeah, is this worth 3 blue mana to counter? Oh, you're gonna let it resolve? Okay, is this worth 2 black? So I was very well inoculated to the stress of like having your creature get blasted. They end their turn because they can't attack, because it just came in. And then I leave a bunch of mana untapped because I'm like, because I have in my hand a removal spell because I'm playing white-green, and I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to try out some removal, and there was some removal in that set. And it was all terrible, right? It was all cards that I was like looking at it and I was like, man, what could this really save me from that like a cheaper card couldn't save me from? So I was holding in my hand Tristani's Judgment, which is a 6-drop 6-drop exile, and then what's it called? Populate. So you can clone a token. So they're like, that was the big effect in the set. And then of course, without telling us what they're doing, they just start doing stuff. And what they're playing is Eyes in the Skies, right? Which is same thing. It has populate at the end of it. It's put a bird into play and then populate. So theoretically, for 4 alone, this card could put in 2 birds. However, if you have other stuff going on, it could be better. So it's not a bad card, but their thinking is that they're going to populate the Phyrexian token, and they start doing it. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I just played this. And I was like, no. You don't just place, like, you have to go, I'm casting this, right? This is what it does. Do you want to let it resolve? You want to counter it, right? Because you could have a blue deck or something. And so I was like, fucking rewind. He's like, okay, I'm casting this. And I was like, okay. Then I'm casting Tristani's Judgment, and I'm going to exile your token. And they're like, oh, but I already played it. It's like, that's not how it works. There's in response, and then there's this stack, and then it resolves, and you don't have a token when the spell comes in. So you have to get 2 birds. And then immediately just starts crying. We're in college. The guy is just like, immediately starts fucking crying. It's just like, you can drive, you can drink, you can go to war. You can't cry in Magic. It's not allowed. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is... I was like, is there something else in this guy's life that's not going well? Like, what? And then like the girl, I looked at the girl next to me, and she's like, you're such an asshole. And I was like, me? You're mad that we're losing. Now you're mad that we're winning. And then the other opponent, the guy who was also on the team, was like, guys, you're mad at him for literally playing the game. And I'm like, thank you. What am I supposed to do? Just like, yeah, please, Phyrexian daddy, fuck me. Like, all of my instincts in having been having been taught Magic by someone who plays black almost exclusively, it's like I can't imagine the danger of like taking all of my good board that I will win with, wiping it out to do something else. Should really have attacked first. Also, just and they were like, "Oh, we don't want them to die in the blocking and stuff." It's like, I don't know. They had a bunch of 6/6s, like they were pumped with all these tokens. It's like, guys, like you could almost win that turn, but like not quite enough, and then just swing the next turn. Like the Phyrexian Rebirth is good if you're losing. Like if you're if you're losing, your opponent has a ton of stuff. You wipe the board. Oh, haha! Now I have a big Phyrexian token. But yeah. So this guy fucked up, and then he started crying, and it's just. I guess that's it. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you guys next time.